Okay, welcome to the help video for lesson 3, starting on page 18. So there's a lot to cover, so I'm going to get right to it. On your screen, you'll see page 18. I've already written some things on it, and I'm going to go over what you have. First of all, this strategy we're using is called factor by grouping. If you want to see more examples of it, you can type that into a Google search, and you will find hundreds, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions. Okay. So plenty of resources out there to look up on your own. So what I have for you is essentially I started with an example that was in factored form, 2x plus 3 in parentheses, x plus 5 in parentheses. Then I did the middle steps, which is what we're trying to recreate with this factor by grouping. And then we get to the end, 2x squared plus 3x plus 15. Now, when we look at these problems, we are starting with this part here, and then we're going that way and trying to get to the end, the answer that's in factored form in parentheses. And we can do that by recreating this middle section here, okay? So watch, here's what we're going to do. So we're going to do this first one together, and I'm going to walk you through it step by step. Then I'm going to have you try some of the examples on your own. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the first coefficient and the last term, -8 and 3, and I'm going to multiply. And I get, so -8 times 3 is -24. Okay, not too bad so far, right? Now, I need factors of -24 that add up to -2. I'm going to use the middle term now, okay? So I know 6 and 4 are factors of 24. Because it's negative, one has to be negative. Because this is a -2, -6 and 4 are my two factors, all right? So -6 plus 4 would give me -2. Now, what does that do for us? Okay, well, that basically gives us, if I look up at the top and you see this step that's in red that I circled, it gives us those two middle terms that have kind of been, I guess, disassembled, okay? So what does that look like? All right, so now I'm rewriting this 3x squared, that's going to stay the same. Now the middle, instead of -2x, I'm going to have -6x plus 4x. The -6 and the 4 come from these two factors, and then -8, that stays the same. Okay, now here's where the trick, well, it's not really a trick, it's actually very sound math comes in. I'm going to split this in half, and I'm going to factor out a GCF from each of these binomials, okay? So from 3x squared minus 6x, I can see a 3 and an x can be factored out. And what I'm left with is x minus 2. Now here's the beauty of factoring by grouping, okay? If I go up above, look at what's in parentheses in this middle, in this other step here that's circled, x plus 5 and x plus 5. So I know that when I'm done over on this side over here, let me pick a different color, I'm going to still have an x plus 2 in parentheses. What can factor out of 4x and -8? Well, how about a 4 plus 4, a positive 4? And if I divide that out, I have x minus 2. So this is the beauty of it, okay? Now I'm going to go from this step, I'm going in this direction now, okay? So the x plus 2, or excuse me, x minus 2, sorry for misspeaking, is one of my factors, one of my parentheses. I'm going to put it here. I always do it second, I don't know why. And then the first parentheses is what's on the outside, the 3x and the plus 4. And you're done. Now, that's going to be tricky just watching. So you got to practice this. So we're going to go to the next one. I'm going to help you get it set up. I'm going to pause the recording. You're going to try it by pausing the video and seeing how you do. So it's basically the same one, except for you'll see the middle term is different. So again, I'm going to multiply 3 and negative 8. So 3 and negative 8, and I still get negative 24. I'm going to help you out by giving you the two factors. And to add up to positive 10, I'm going to use negative 2 and positive 12. Negative 2 plus 12 is positive 10. All right. Now, see if you can do the next couple steps on your own. I'm going to pause the recording, pause the video, and then what will happen is when you hit play, it's going to come back with the answer. Okay, and we're back. And you should see the answer on your screen right now. I'm actually going to draw, let me undo that, a line to kind of split these up so we don't get things mixed up here. All right, so as you can see, so where we left off, I gave you the factors. So here's what I did. I plugged them in. Remember, the first term and the last term stayed the same, 3x squared and the minus 8. In the middle, I wrote in blue my minus 2, and I put an x after it. Okay, that's my coefficient, negative 2. And the plus 12. That came from over here, these two factors that I found. Okay, now I put a line in between them and kind of split it in half. On the left side, I factored out an x from 3x squared and minus 2x to give me, so x in front, 3x minus 2. Now, again, the beauty of this is, on the right side, inside parentheses, I need to have the same thing. A lot of times, I'll even just write that already and try to figure out what goes on the outside. So if I started with the 3x minus 2, what would I need on the outside to end up with 12x minus 8 plus 4? Now, I combine the plus 4 and the x for one of my parentheses, and the 3x minus 2 is the other one. And you're done. Not too bad, right? Okay, let's go to number 3. What you got to recognize in number 3 is that there is a 1 in front of the x. All right. Now, we're going to do this one the same way. I'm going to multiply the lead coefficient, 3, and negative 14. And I get, sorry, my 4 is a little sloppy there, negative 42. Now, I need factors of negative 42 that total to give me positive 1. And it's negative 6 and positive 7. 7 minus 6 is 1. Negative 6 plus 7 is 1. Okay? So I'm going to help you by rewriting this. 3x squared, the first one stays the same, minus 6x plus 7x minus 14. Okay, I'm going to pause the recording, pause the video, see if you can finish it on your own. Okay, so I only did one step here. I'm going to take you to the end and see how you do. So again, my first parentheses, or my first binomial, is going to be what's on the outside of the parentheses, 3x and plus 7. And then what's in parentheses is my x minus 2. Now, if you're saying, yeah, but there's 2x minus 2's, remember, if we go back to the top, this all comes from when you do the double distributive property, you're distributing the first term to both x and 5, both terms in the other one, and the second term to both, okay? So it's really this step here in reverse, okay? All right, so number 4, we're going to take our 2 and our negative 36 and multiply them. This is going to be the last one I'm going to help you with here, and then we're going to see if you can do the number 5 on your own. And that's negative 72. Okay, so factors of negative 72 that give me negative 21. Believe it or not, we weren't that far off with 2 and negative 36 as factors of negative 72. But it's actually going to be 3 and negative 24. So See if you can go from this step to the end. I'm going to pause the recording, pause the video, and try it. If you can't, you can continue to hit play and you'll see the answer in a moment. Okay, we are back. As you can see, what I did is I wrote this out and then I separated it in the middle. I factored out an x from the first one, leaving me 2x plus 3. I actually wrote 2x plus 3 and then figured out what I would divide out or what I would need to multiply by to give me my negative 24x minus 36, and that was negative 12. So my first part is x minus 12, and then the second part, it's already there for me, 2x plus 3, or the second binomial. Okay, try number 5 on your own. I'm just going to tell you, you're going to do negative 2 times 9 and get negative 18, and then see what you get from there. I'm going to pause the recording. Okay, now I worked this one out. I'm not going to explain it too much in detail. I am just going to point out, if you had switched your negative 3 and 6, and had 6 and negative 3, you could have gotten the second equivalent answer, negative 2x minus 3 and x minus 3. Typically, most students or most people, when they start getting good at this, do it a certain way, and you will end up with basically a common answer, what most people come up with. So 2x plus 3 and negative x plus 3 are the most typical answer, but an equivalent one is this one next to it. Okay, number 6 is actually a little bit different. This is actually going back to what we've done before, just because it's a fraction. I'm actually going to say this one, we'll call it a challenge, and I'm going to put the answer in the answer key, and you'll have to look it up on your own because I want to move on to the next page. So this one, you're going to have a few examples that you're going to try on your own. And notice it says factor completely. So we're looking for greatest common factors. If we don't have any, then we'll factor using the strategies that I've shown you. All right. So this first one, I'll walk you through. 100, and there's no greatest common factor. So 100 times negative 63 is negative 6,300. And you might be saying, well, how the heck am I going to find the factors for that? It's actually not that bad. It's 70 and negative 90. So I'm going to have 100 x squared. Just because the numbers are big doesn't mean that this is really a bad problem. It's actually not a bad problem at all. Oops, positive 70x minus 90x minus 63. Okay, so now that I've set it up for you, see if you can finish it from here. All right, I'm going to pause the recording. Okay, I didn't actually finish it just yet. I'm going to finish it with you real quick. So I wanted to show you what I did. So I broke this first one down. Now, because I know I've got 10x plus 7 in parentheses, watch how this can help you with figuring out what's going to go over here. Because I know I have a negative 63, I know this is going to be a negative number. And it's actually going to be pretty simple. It's negative 9. So what do I end up with? 10x minus 9 is on the outside of the parentheses. And then on the inside of parentheses, 10x plus 7. Now, to make sure it works, do the check. Do the double distributive. Okay. We are just about out of time. So what I'm going to have you do is check your answers for the remaining with the answer key. What I'm going to tell you is number 8 is actually just going to be a regular factoring problem. That's going to look like this. And I'll just leave it like that. 9, you're going to actually need to factor out a GCF. And same with 10 before you actually get those answers. All right. Good luck. If you've got questions, make sure you write them down or specifically what you need help with, and we'll see you in class.